When you stop chasing and go silent, something powerful happens beneath the surface that most men never understand. At first, it may look like she isn't affected or that she's simply moving on with her life, but emotionally, a deeper internal shift has already begun. Silence creates a space that she cannot ignore, and within that space, she is forced to confront the emotions she once pushed aside, avoided, or didn't even realize she had. When you were chasing, pursuing, initiating every conversation, and constantly reassuring her of your interest, you unknowingly shielded her from ever having to examine her own feelings. She didn't have to think about what she felt because your attention was always there, acting as a safety net. But the moment that attention disappears, the entire emotional landscape changes. Suddenly, she is left alone with her thoughts, and for the first time, your presence is felt through your absence, At the beginning of your silence, she may feel relief or neutrality, especially if she was pulling away or acting distant. That reaction is temporary. It's a surface level response. It comes from the belief that she still has you whenever she wants, that she's still in control of the situation. But as the hours and days pass and she receives no message, no call, no attempt to reconnect, something in her begins to shift. What was once expected and predictable, your pursuit no longer exists, and that disruption triggers curiosity. She starts wondering what changed. Did something happen? Are you upset? Are you losing interest? For the first time, she realizes that she doesn't know what's going on with you, and that uncertainty becomes emotionally uncomfortable. Human psychology is simple. The mind hates losing what it was once sure of. Your silence removes her sense of certainty, and that's when deeper emotions begin to surface. As your silence continues, she begins to replay past interactions in her mind. Every moment where she ignored your message, every time she delayed replying, every moment where she took your interest for granted, these things begin to bother her. Those memories which she previously dismissed now carry weight because she no longer has the comfort of your predictable presence to drown them out. Her mind starts asking questions that create emotional pressure. Did I push him too far? Did I make him feel unwanted? Why hasn't he reached out yet? Was he more valuable than I thought? These questions aren't just thoughts, they are emotional triggers. They generate anxiety, curiosity, and a growing awareness that she might have overlooked your importance. Your silence also forces her to face the emotional contrast between what life felt like when you were in her world versus how it feels now without you. Partor before your mindset, it was simply there, Yorent, let runes stopped playing. Now, without your attention, she starts to feel the quiet. She notices the lack of good morning messages, the absence of your consistency, the missing emotional support, and the space that feels strangely empty. It's in that silence that she realizes your energy had a calming, grounding, and valuable influence. She may not admit it out loud even to herself, but she begins to feel that internal void. Over time, she starts to project meaning onto your silence, and this is where emotional clarity hits her. She begins to wonder whether you pulled back because you respect yourself, because you're focusing on your purpose, or because you finally realized your own worth. That thought alone changes the power dynamic. Instead of seeing you as the man chasing her, she begins to see you as a man who knows what he deserves. She begins to question whether she misread your intentions or took your kindness as weakness. Your silence, without you saying a single word, communicates strength. It communicates that you are not dependent on her reaction, approval, or affection. The masculine calmness of your distance speaks louder than any message you could have sent. This emotional shift inside her grows stronger as time passes. She begins to wonder who you're with, what you're doing, and whether another woman has captured your attention. Even if she tries to act like she doesn't care, the silence magnifies everything she tried to suppress. When someone loses access to what once made them feel admired or wanted, the mind naturally begins to crave that source again. Your silence becomes an unanswered question, one she cannot escape. She may check your social media, revisit old messages, or ask mutual friends about you. She might even tell herself she's just curious, but in reality, the silence has triggered an emotional recalibration. Eventually, she feels something she didn't expect, fear. Not fear in a dramatic sense, but the subtle fear of losing something meaningful. Fear that she misjudged your value. Fear that she allowed a man who truly cared to slip away. Fear that you have moved on and she's no longer a priority. This fear arises not because you manipulated her, but because your silence gave her the space to finally feel. And what she's feeling is the truth she ignored while you chased her. She cares more than she allowed herself to admit. The beauty of silence is that it exposes genuine emotional connection. If she had no interest, your silence would mean nothing. Instead, it's making her think, reflect, wonder, and feel. Silence becomes the mirror that forces her to confront her emotions. And in that confrontation, she begins to recognize the value of your presence. She starts to appreciate the attention she once overlooked. She begins to miss the man she thought would never walk away. And this is where the emotional tables turn quietly, powerfully, naturally. You didn't fight, you didn't argue, you didn't explain. You simply stepped back, and in doing so, allowed her to feel everything she was avoiding. She begins realizing that the man she took for granted is the same man she now wants back in her life. All because silence revealed what chasing once concealed. When you stop chasing and pull your energy inward, something profound begins to happen that she never expected. She starts to recognize your true value in a way she couldn't see before. When a man is always available, always calling, always texting, always trying to make something work, his presence becomes familiar, so familiar that it blends into the background. Familiarity can create comfort, but it can also dull appreciation. When she knows you'll always be there no matter how she behaves, she stops consciously noticing what you bring to her life. Your kindness becomes routine, your effort becomes predictable, and your attention becomes something she assumes will never go away. But the moment you go silent, the moment you stop showing up in the ways she grew accustomed to, a shockwave goes through her emotional system. The absence of your energy suddenly highlights the power of your presence. At first, she may pretend not to care or convince herself that everything is fine, but internally her mind begins comparing two emotional states, life with your attention and life without it. This contrast is what reveals your value more clearly than any words or actions ever could. When you were constantly reaching out, she never had to wonder how you felt or where she stood. You gave her certainty. Certainty, however, is often underappreciated. People don't value what feels guaranteed. But when you step back, you create uncertainty, not in a toxic way, but in a natural, psychological way that forces her to evaluate what she's lost. She starts to realize how much of your presence she relied on emotionally, even if she never showed it openly. Suddenly, she notices the silence. She notices that there is no good morning message waiting for her when she wakes up. She notices that her phone doesn't light up in the evening with your check-ins or your affection. She notices that there's no one asking how her day went, cheering on her goals, or sharing the kind of masculine steadiness you brought into her world. She becomes aware of the empty spaces where your energy used to be, and that awareness awakens appreciation. Humans naturally look backward to evaluate meaning. When something disappears, the mind automatically asks, "What did I really lose?" This question is the spark that makes her begin emotionally reevaluating everything you once offered so effortlessly. Your value starts to appear in the little things she never acknowledged: the emotional safety you brought, the consistency you provided, the patience you showed, the masculine grounding she felt when you were in her life. She begins to replay moments where your presence calmed her, made her smile, or made her feel seen. These small memories begin to feel bigger because now they contrast against the silence. She starts to miss your humor, your attention, your vibe, even your voice. The absence of these things magnifies how powerful they actually were. Your silence also signals strength, real masculine strength. It shows that your world does not revolve around her, and this matters more than most men realize. Women are instinctively drawn to men who have purpose, self-respect, and an internal life that doesn't crumble the moment they face distance or challenge. When you stop chasing, you communicate independence, confidence, and emotional stability without ever saying a word. This is attractive because it shows you are a man who chooses her but does not need her. That distinction is everything. Neediness repels while self-contained emotional power pulls her in. As she begins noticing the emotional gap, she starts comparing you to other men in her life. Men who didn't treat her as well, men who weren't as consistent, men who didn't pursue growth, men who lacked the masculine energy you naturally carry. She realizes that the connection she had with you isn't something she can easily replace. Modern dating makes people think there is always another option, always someone better around the corner. But when a man with real masculine presence goes silent, it disrupts that illusion. She begins to see that what she had with you was rare, valuable, and possibly irreplaceable. That realization grows over time, especially if she sees you thriving, calm, and unbothered. Another layer to your rising value comes from the emotional accountability your silence encourages. When you stop chasing, she has time to reflect on how she behaved. She notices her mistakes, her distance, or the ways she might have taken you for granted. Instead of feeling suffocated or overwhelmed, she starts feeling responsible. She wonders if she pushed too hard, expected too much, or assumed you would always be there. This self-reflection amplifies your value because it shifts her emotional perspective from entitlement to appreciation. She starts seeing you not as the man who chased her, but as the man she now must move toward. Your absence also frees you from the role of the pursuer and places you in the role of the man whose attention must be earned. That subtle shift changes everything. She recognizes that someone who truly values himself doesn't beg, cling, or pressure a woman. He steps back, he focuses on himself, he lets her come to him if she genuinely cares. This calm, masculine restraint elevates your worth in her eyes because it shows you are emotionally mature and disciplined. These are traits women deeply admire and rarely see. Eventually, her emotional response evolves from curiosity to concern, from concern to longing, and from longing to desire. She wants the version of you she didn't fully appreciate before. She begins to crave the attention she once ignored. The silence you created reshapes her perception of you. You go from being the man who wanted her to the man she now realizes she wants back. This shift happens not through manipulation, but through natural psychological dynamics. People value what is scarce. People desire what is not guaranteed, and people pursue what they feel they could lose. By stepping back, you allowed her to see you clearly for the first time. She recognizes the strength, the stability, the emotional intelligence, and the masculine presence she overlooked. The man she thought would always be available becomes the man whose value she now sees in full clarity. Your silence, rather than pushing her away, becomes the very thing that makes her appreciate who you truly are. When you stop chasing her and go silent, one of the most powerful internal shifts she experiences is the sudden urge to reevaluate her choices, her behavior, and the way she handled the connection. This isn't something she decides consciously. It happens automatically, driven by psychology, emotion, and the contrast your silence creates. When you were pursuing her, reaching out, and keeping the communication alive, she never had to think deeply about her own actions. She never had to question whether she was giving enough, respecting you enough, or valuing the connection enough. Your consistent presence shielded her from accountability. But when you withdraw, the entire emotional dynamic flips, and it forces her to reflect on everything she did, everything she said, and everything she failed to give. At first, she might not feel this immediately. She may even think she's relieved, free, or unaffected. That initial reaction is surface level and temporary. The real emotional impact starts when she notices that you are no longer chasing, no longer checking in, no longer asking for time, attention, or understanding. What felt like a constant guarantee is suddenly gone. That disappearance triggers a cognitive dissonance, a mental discomfort that demands explanation. Her mind begins hunting for answers, and the first place it looks is her own behavior. She begins to replay the moments where she pulled away or acted distant, the times she didn't respond with the same level of enthusiasm, or the instances where she assumed you would always keep trying no matter how she behaved. These moments, once dismissed, now return with emotional weight. Silence has a way of making past actions echo louder. She remembers the messages she ignored, the times she postponed meeting you, the times she flirted but didn't commit, or the ways she subtly kept you at arm's length. At the time, she brushed these off because she believed your interest would survive anything. Now, with your silence, she wonders if those behaviors were the very things that pushed you away. This emotional recalibration is powerful because it forces her to consider something she may have never considered before. The possibility that she messed up. That maybe she misread the situation. That perhaps you were the one who was genuine and she failed to meet you halfway. This is when her ego steps aside and her emotional truth surfaces. No woman likes to feel that she may have lost a man because of her own action. Your silence makes her confront this fear head on, and instead of avoiding it, she becomes immersed in it. As she continues to reflect, her evaluation becomes deeper. She thinks about the qualities you brought to her life, the way you listened, cared, supported, and showed genuine interest. She thinks about your consistency, your patience, and the stability you offered. She realizes that men like you are rare, and that not every man possesses the emotional maturity or genuine intention you had. She begins comparing you to past partners, current acquaintances, and potential contenders. And often, the comparison highlights something she didn't see before. Your value stands above the rest. She starts questioning her reasons for pulling away or acting indifferent. Was she scared of getting too close? Was she unsure of her feelings? Was she testing you? Was she simply used to being pursued, so she never had to put in effort? The silence forces a level of honesty she can't escape. Her excuses begin to break down, and she's left with the realization that maybe the problem wasn't you. Maybe it was her expectations, impatience, or lack of emotional clarity. Another layer to her reevaluation emerges when she considers your sudden disappearance in terms of self-worth. A man with value doesn't waste time chasing someone who isn't reciprocating. Your silence communicates that message more effectively than any emotional speech could. She starts asking herself whether she was someone worth fighting for. Did she offer enough to deserve the effort you once gave? Was she dismissive? Did she take your presence for granted? These questions trigger a deep emotional discomfort because they shift the focus from what you didn't do to what she didn't do. As more time passes, her reflection becomes less analytical and more emotional. She begins missing the connection. She misses the attention she once had. She misses your presence, your energy, your consistency. Nostalgia makes her remember the best moments, the moments she may have overlooked or undervalued. Memories she once brushed aside suddenly feel meaningful. The more she thinks, the more she realizes the depth of what she may have pushed away. She then begins to wonder about the future. Does your silence mean you're truly done? Are you talking to someone new? Are you happier without her? Has she lost her chance permanently? These questions don't arise from ego. They come from emotional investment. Your silence challenges her belief that you would always be available. For the first time, she fears missing out on something real. This fear evolves into motivation. She realizes that if she wants you back, she may need to initiate, apologize, clarify, or open up emotionally. Your silence inspires action because it reveals something she didn't notice before. You are a man she could lose. And loss, especially of something meaningful, creates urgency. She begins thinking of what she would say, how she would explain herself, what she might do differently this time. She starts planning her approach, even if she hasn't reached out yet. Your silence also becomes a mirror. It shows her the version of herself that she doesn't want to be. The woman who pushes away a caring man, the woman who doesn't communicate well, the woman who takes connection for granted. This self-awareness is uncomfortable but necessary, and as she evaluates her role in the distance, she starts to feel something deeper, regret. Not the dramatic kind, but the subtle, lingering regret that grows stronger each day you remain silent. Ultimately, her emotional journey leads her to a place of clarity. She begins to understand her true feelings more accurately, without the confusion created by your pursuit. She realizes that the man she kept at a distance is the same man she now feels drawn to. Her reevaluation transforms the dynamic. She no longer sees you as the man who chased her, but as the man whose absence forced her to confront her heart. And in that confrontation, she discovers that she may want the very connection she once pushed away. When you stop chasing a woman and allow silence to take over, the dynamic between you shifts in a way that's subtle at first, but becomes overwhelmingly powerful with time. What makes this shift so impactful is that it's not forced, not manipulative, and not something you have to push for. It happens naturally because feminine energy responds to masculine detachment. When you remove your attention, the emotional polarity resets. She can no longer rely on being pursued, and suddenly the balance of who is investing, who is wondering, and who is moving toward whom begins to flip. Your detachment becomes the catalyst for drawing her in, not because you're playing games, but because you're finally aligned with masculine strength, self-respect, and inner purpose. In the beginning, she might not react outwardly. She may continue with her routine, post on social media, or go on with her day as if nothing has changed. But emotionally, something different is happening beneath the surface. When you were chasing her, she had no space to come toward you. You filled every quiet moment. You eliminated the possibility of her wondering, initiating, or thinking deeply about you. But the moment you go silent, the moment you stop trying to fix things or chase validation, you create a vacuum. And human nature hates a vacuum. When someone pulls back, the other person instinctively leans in, especially when there was some level of emotional connection already present. This shift doesn't happen all at once. It builds slowly. At first, she simply notices that you're not reaching out. She might brush it off as you being busy or distracted, but as the silence continues, her mind starts generating questions she never had to ask before. Why isn't he texting me? Did something change? Is he losing interest? Did he meet someone else? These thoughts begin to nudge her emotionally. The absence of your pursuit feels unfamiliar, even unsettling, especially if she grew accustomed to being the one on the receiving end of your attention. The true reversal begins when she realizes she no longer feels in control. When you stop chasing, you remove the dynamic where she sets the pace and you follow. Instead, you communicated through action that you're not tied to her approval, not waiting for her decisions, and not dependent on her energy to feel grounded. That shift threatens the comfort she once had and forces her to reconsider her position. Women are naturally drawn to men who are anchored in themselves, who don't chase validation, and who embody calm emotional independence. Your silence suddenly reveals those qualities in you, qualities she may not have seen when you were pursuing too hard. As days pass, she begins to feel your absence more intensely. The emotional contrast becomes undeniable. Your presence once felt reassuring, stable, and validating. Now, with it gone, she begins to feel the void. She starts comparing how she felt with your energy versus how she feels now without it, and the difference makes her crave the connection she previously overlooked. That craving is what reverses the dynamic. Instead of being the one who needed space, she starts to feel the pull toward you. Instead of being indifferent, she becomes emotionally alert. Instead of holding the power, she now finds herself wanting to close the gap you silently created. Your detachment also changes how she perceives you. When a man stops chasing, he sends a strong message. I value myself enough to walk away from anything that doesn't value me back. That energy is profoundly attractive because it boosts your perceived value. You're no longer the man who was always available. You're the man she now has to reach for. That shift from you being the pursuer to being the prize alters her emotional response. She may start wondering whether she misjudged you, whether she underestimated your worth, or whether she risked losing someone who genuinely mattered. The psychological reversal continues when she starts romanticizing the past. She remembers your conversations, your attention, your presence. She replays the moments you made her feel wanted or appreciated. Nostalgia becomes a powerful emotional force. While you're silent, her mind fills that silence with memories, memories that now take on deeper meaning because she misses what they once represented. The same moments she once took lightly now feel significant. This emotional nostalgia pulls her toward you without you doing anything at all. Your silence also gives her the space to feel something she never could when you were chasing. Uncertainty. Uncertainty is the doorway to desire. When everything is guaranteed, desire weakens. But when something feels like it could slip away, the desire intensifies. By not chasing, you remove the guarantee. You remove the certainty. You remove the idea that you'll always be there. This sparks a primal emotional reaction in her. She begins to want what she no longer feels fully sure she still has. Eventually, curiosity turns into concern turns into reflection, and reflection turns into longing. She starts to think about reaching out. She imagines what she would say. She debates whether to check on you. This internal debate is crucial because it means the dynamic has fully reversed. Instead of you analyzing her silence, she is analyzing yours. Instead of you waiting for her to respond, she is waiting for you to break the silence. Instead of you feeling uncertain, she is now the one dealing with emotional tension. The shift becomes complete when she takes action, when she reaches out, checks up on you, likes your posts, responds quickly, or subtly tries to re-engage. Your silence made her realize that connection isn't one-sided. It made her understand that if she wants you in her life, she must move toward you. And that's the beauty of masculine detachment. It doesn't chase, it attracts. It doesn't beg, it invites. It doesn't force, it allows. You didn't manipulate her, you simply stepped into your power, and that power naturally pulled her in. By going silent, you didn't lose her. You allowed space for her to find her way back, and in that space, the entire dynamic shifted from you seeking her to her seeking you.